Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great start to the week. It's Monday, the 30th of October, roughly about 3 o'clock Pacific time. Ended the market. Very good day on all three indices today. The NASDAQ, Dow, and the S&P 500 all inching over 1% today. Starting with the NASDAQ, NASDAQ was up about 146 points, up about 1.16%. While most people were expecting a little bit of a bounce, given how oversold the market is, inching closely towards the bottom, hopefully, and this should reverse, but I still expect a little bit of movement up, and my suspicion is it's probably going to come down a little bit more. I'm hoping it doesn't hit new lows, but you got to be open for whatever it is. I'm not expecting it to go up, but it could move up a little bit more from the oversold territory, somewhere hit in the 13,000 mark, and then head back a little bit down again to retest this 12,500 range. That's on the NASDAQ, and that was the daily chart. Now, going to the S&P 500 also was up about 1.2% today, 49 points. Broke down from the channel on Friday, but now back into the channel again. So this is a good move. Still at the 4166 range is where it closed, so a little bit higher than it was on Friday at the top. So this is a good sign. I'm hoping it stays back in the channel a little bit and doesn't move way too much down. And then the Dow Jones Industrial Average also up about 511 points today, 1.58%. Very strong move to the up. Still overall looking a little bit tough, but we're going to take a day on the positive when we get it. One of the companies that reported earnings today and came up on the radar was Pinterest. PINS is the ticker symbol. Let's go through our five-step process, see where we end up, and see whether this is a good trade to take or not. So we start, as always, with the financials, and on the annualized income statement. The company was doing roughly about, hold on a second. Okay, yeah, there you go. 470 million in 2017, growing at about 50 to 60%, slowing down a little bit, and then picking up back again over the 50%. And this year, 2022, last year, a dramatic slowdown in the ad industry, not just Pinterest, even Snap, even Google, and even Meta, but they have scale, whereas going nearly 5 times up, actually more than 5 times, 6 to 7 times is what Pinterest has grown in revenue from 2017 to 2022. So 6 years, dramatic increase. So about 8% growth in the last year. Trailing 12 months indicates almost a flat kind of a business compared to where they were. So 2.58 billion, 2.6 billion to 2.9 billion, roughly about flat. They had good earnings today, very strong EPS, even though revenue was about 11% up year over year. That was today's numbers, the end of the day today. Gross profit about 3.1 billion. So roughly this is, give or take, somewhere between a 60% profitable business, 60% gross margins. Didn't have earnings before, were negative. Had a very good 2021 where they made profit and then moved back into the negative again. Going to the quarterly, you can see that earnings have come down. So this quarter, last quarter, $700 million in earnings. Whereas if you look at it this year, this quarter, they jumped up 12% after hours, 6.93 million net income, roughly about 10 cents a share negative was last year, same quarter. Revenue was 763 million, up 11%. So doing very well in terms of revenue compared to 4% growth. Look at this. It slowed down from high teens to single digit, even slower, 3% growth, and now 3 to 4 to 6 to 11. So that's a good sign. Revenue getting back into the double digits for a company doing about 700 million is a very good sign. And although they're still losing money, they lost about $46 million last quarter. I think it's getting to the point where at least it's a little bit more manageable. This quarter is pretty bad, a combination of multiple set of one-time charges as well. So this is not a bad sign overall for a company doing about roughly 2.9 billion, 60% gross margins, still negative. Let's look at, in terms of balance sheet, they don't have a lot of debt is what I remember. About $3.5 billion in total assets, cash and cash equivalents, roughly in the 3 billion range. And then net debt is about, total debt is about 160 million, sorry. This net debt, this I've got to figure out why is it quite high. Overall, it seems okay, but something that we should be probably looking at anyway a little bit later. Okay, so that's the income statement and balance sheet. Looks okay. No red flags yet, except for the fact it's losing money. Price to sales of 5.7 for a teen 11% growth. I don't like that. But if the ad market turns around and growth gets good, that would be not bad at all. Since they don't have earnings yet, there's no PE. So this is a little bit high for me. Not terrific, but high. Um, let's see. Let's see where the stock is overall from a technical analysis perspective. So stage one, growing, became a stage four, broke down, a stage one, good consolidation, accumulation period, rapid rise, stage two, all the way until 2020, hit a high somewhere in the 2021 February timeframe, consolidated stage three, rapid decline, descending distribution, whatever you want to call this, stage four, and then consolidating pretty much in the very long term, if you want to call it that, over the last, I would say, at least since this has been April of 2022, so almost a year and a half, it has been range bound. In fact, if you make it even smaller range, if you get to move this a little bit lower, if you look at this from a 2022 September, so almost a year, it is in a much, much shorter range. It's been range bound. So the monthly chart, range bound is what it looks like, meaning that it's not going much, much higher. It's broken out of a little bit of resistance over here in the 24 range, but it might head about 10% higher here, is what is indicated post-market. You can see 13% head higher to the 28 zone, somewhere over here, but it's still within the range, meaning it's still very much behaving like I'm going to consolidate for a little bit of time. So this is what that would look like if you had to draw a chart out. So the monthly chart, consolidating. Let's draw a few of these support and resistances. This would be one resistance at 31 range and a support for us obviously down here, but even this one seems like a good support for it in the 22 range for the short term at least. Going to the weekly chart. So where are we at? From a very high level, they're still consolidating. You can see that in the chart over here. This is moving up, moving down, moving up, moving down, not really going anywhere, nowhere near its highs. So this is a pretty significant move way, expecting it to go to the 80, 90 range. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But it's been consolidating. So you look at the last few quarters, so moved down, consolidated, not much movement. I think this has been one of those base building kind of moves. I don't think the weekly chart gives you that much more. On the weekly, you can possibly see that this is one chart that you could draw. I'm sorry, this is one trend line you could draw going downwards here and a consolidating. So this is what I would draw, but I'm going to hesitate trying to make too many changes or too many conclusions, draw too many conclusions based on what we can see from this chart, because it is very much range bound, but seems to be tightening. So that's a good sign. All right, let's go to the daily chart now, which is our go-to chart. You know that it's been range bound for a long time. And in the short term, it seems to be consolidating or moving into this 26, 28 range. But it seems to have gone over at least this resistance, 28.48. So that's roughly about here. It's hit a bunch of different. So I'm going to move this resistance to here, 29. There's quite a bit of resistance in the 29 zone. So there's a lot of supply coming in the 29, 27 zone. I hope it gets through this resistance, but it's not likely that it's going to go way too high, given that the earnings were decent, revenue was okay. So 25 seems to be the definite support. So if you had to draw a couple of different ways to play this, I would wait for tomorrow's price action post the earnings. One of the first things we can see from the price action seems to be that it has definitely found a way to be able to get over the short-term resistance, which was in a lot of resistance all the way up to this, even this range. Look at this 27, 28. So it's gone 27, 28, 45, roughly around this time frame. So I would wait for this to clear, wait for tomorrow, wait for the candle to form tomorrow. If it is a good, strong green candle tomorrow, I'd wait for it to clear 29 for me to take a long position all the way to 30s into the 30, 33 range. So that would give me about $2 upside and a short downside somewhere in the 29.04. That's how I would play it. On the longer term, you can see there's a bunch of resistance here building up in the 29 range. So I'm hoping that it clears because it's hit this resistance multiple different times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so it keeps on seems to be wanting to go down after it hits 29. It has gone once up above, so that's a good sign always. It's gone all the way to 30. So from the 29 to 30 is a very short amount of room for me to be able to get excited about. Good stock, I'm not going to play this. This is not a great setup in terms of risk reward. There's a likelihood it might come down all the way. If the market, given where it is right now, it'll probably come down a little bit. Unless if it is a market that was great trending up, I'd be willing to take the bet that it'll go past this resistance. But the 29 resistance, 30 resistance looks tough. Thank you guys very much for subscribing to the channel. I appreciate your subscription to the YouTube channel. And please like and subscribe. Hit that like button so I can get more people to follow this.